Okay, welcome everyone to our second Hippo lecture of the semester. If you haven't been to these before, I love this so much because there's much more of a free range style, especially in comparison to what if any of you attended last week for the Spirit and Life catechetical series that Father Chase and I do in tandem. That's catechetical, straightforward, 15 minutes. Tonight will be 35 or something like that. It gets very, very theologically dense in the latter part of the talk, like the last 6 pages. It's on the problem of evil, like 40 very, very serious takeaway points. First 6 is more this kind of open, free-range thing, because this will be, if you were at the last Hippo a month ago, Mark and Anna, these two models, meet on a first date, and they go under the guidance of their spiritual advisor, or perhaps... Okay. Sorry. No worries. I could do, yeah, it's fine. They go under the guidance of their spiritual advisor, Father LeBron, and we'll pick up their story. And the whole thing is, I don't want to say more because Elizabeth, her and Andrew did such a wonderful intro last time. I'm so grateful to them, and she's going to do an awesome job introducing the story. I don't want to say anything more other than the whole year is the year of St. Augustine, right? So this is second of 6 Hippo lectures that will be not just on St. Augustine, but Mark and Anna's story. And so throughout tonight and then into the spring, we'll continue with these two models and this combination of kind of fiction thing, but theology at the same time. It'll be a book. Hopefully it'll be released in the spring. Mark and Anna, former models, reflections on St. Augustine, blah, 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 something like that. But that's what you're in here for. And now, as I do this, it's so appropriate with the microphone because it's kind of like rambling, whatever kind of introduction. I'm going to quit the stage. Elizabeth's going to come up and give this intro. When I come back, I'll be in character. And what I mean simply is I'll just like dive right into the story. Get all this kind of stuff out of the way. She'll do the intro. I'll come back. We'll do it. At the end, I'll be willing to take questions for as long as you like. So thank you very much for joining us. If you'll join me in welcoming Elizabeth.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our second Hippo lecture of the year and the second chapter of a book to be completed in spring 2025 called The Adventures of Mark and Anna, Models, Explorations of St. Augustine's Writings Through a Postmodern Setting and Style. Last month we heard about the city of God versus the city of man. Tonight's theme is the problem of evil. What is evil? Why does it exist? What is its character? What can be done? Mark and Anna will once more, and throughout this series, have that explained to them by their spiritual advisor, the good Father LeBron. But the explanation's only coming after we pick up with Mark and Anna's story following their wedding, they, now on honeymoon at Hayborn State Park. Mark and Anna, what could have been if Aeneas and Dido had worked out?
I sing of good looks and of a man, a woman, their fate had not exactly made them fugitive. For even those possessed of the highest beauty are not the first to journey from paycheck to paycheck, enormous payouts ensuring their commitments. But the loneliness in the meantime between, the meaninglessness that maybe all this means, and Anna and Mark had long ago resolved. Would that even the coasts of old Troy, as far as Italy and the Lavinian shores, come calling, no, we are done. We are no longer models. We have done our time. And now time, until the end of our times, will be our time. Passed together in hopeful, drawn-out, lazy summer sunsets under creaking oaks, gently swaying in a light breeze wholly apart, it, from foreboding meteorological portents, us, from that, modeling all that. When we last heard of our heroes and the perpetual vows that bound them, Father LeBron calling down blessings from on high while a crowd not much less good-looking than them looked on. We parted company, perhaps into the dreamy land of memories fading ever steadily into recollections, ever hazier. We, yes, us too decline, we eventually all do. And if not you, then I and she and he too wondered. But would they achieve that elusive happily ever after? Call no man happy before the day of his death, as the Holy Book says. Mark and Anna yet live. Hopefully laughter and play and simply seeing their children and children's children remains in store for them. Look, a long life is still ahead, God willing. So ever after, it's much too early to say. But cook thyself well done, I beg thee, bid thyself not. thy head in thought pretzels, knots slappy, sappy, and mushy undo. Assuredly, I tell you in the plain spoken truth, rather rest assured, oh, they've been happy. It's been good, very good so far. Mark, that lake is 60,000 feet deep. Anna, no. Mark, yes. She, no. Nuh-uh, no way. Yes. Nuh-uh, baby, stop. No way. Nuh-uh, no, it's not. Yes. No. Yep. Baby, it's not. Please stop. Stop. No way. Yes. And it went on like that for a while. And they were having so much fun. Mark and Anna were standing on the teal-colored, ridiculously gorgeous, how appropriate that, Great Idaho Bridge, which can transport one across the Great Palouse Sea, also known as Lake Chacolette, 5 miles east of Plummer, Idaho, looking down, laughing, hugging, she sometimes playfully slapping him on the arm, loving life. They were on their honeymoon here at Hayburn State Park, 8 miles from St. Mary's, Idaho, but now in the other direction. Although staying at the Benoit Lake campground, putting extra logs in the campfire with attention to detail so as to keep it burning long past what most would aspire to, getting a second s'mores made before a third became a fourth. They had swam enough at Rocky Point to have swallowed at least a gallon of lake water and biked to Harrison for soft serve ice cream with sprinkles on top, and had been atop this bridge, the Great Idaho Bridge, each and every day of their week-long stay. But it was check-in that made all the difference and shattered the best of their intentions concerning photogenic retirement. I'm sorry, the woman at the park headquarters says, fanning herself with a welcome to Hayburn State Park brochure. Can you take your parking pass and just leave? Please go. The woman's assistant, Delaney, had fainted a literal 2.8 seconds after seeing Mark walk through the door. Mark had forgotten what the side of his face, when shown without warning, could do. People in the modeling world, being around beautiful people on a regular basis, had developed a tolerance, type of immunity, if you will. Not so for the normal and uninitiated. Poor Delaney. She never stood a chance. And it's certainly not her fault. 20 years old, U of I forestry natural resources major. She landed this awesome summer gig at Hayburn State Park. She's just trying to do her job. She likes dogs. She's trying to help people out. She loves historical fictions and her sisters. She's just trying to input license plate numbers and length of stay into the computer, Delaney. And in walks Mark, and she hardly had time to process the thought on the forefront of her mind. Best looking guy I have ever, before she slumped in her seat and fell off the chair onto the floor, out cold. Please, the woman says, now shielding her eyes with her brochure. We can't call the paramedics to resuscitate her and do all the health checks until the two of you leave. We can't have people dropping like flies at the sight of you. I will say, still shielding her eyes, this is actually funny, because I honestly cannot believe the two of you are this good looking. Huh, 10s marry 10s, right? What are the two of you, 533s? I need you to leave. I'm a tough old bird. I'm one of those Idaho women who likes to shoot guns and ride horses and chop down trees with axes. The axe is pressing into my flesh that, look, see here, look at the calluses on my hands. I've got calluses on my hands like a Bulgarian powerlifter. I've got forearms like a West Texas oil rig operator, and my face is weather beaten beyond belief. And trust me, I'm tough as nails, hard as granite, and yet you, pointing at Mark, you're still getting to me. Look, my eyes are watering, my left toe is tingling, and I haven't felt that foot since I dropped a hammer on it back in '78. I need you to leave. Get out of here. Mark and Anna turn to leave. Anna is relieved that while Delaney is still lying there on the floor, she's visibly breathing, and she looks to be doing fine besides. Wait, the woman says. Before you go, can I get a photo of you two? Mark and Anna oblige, and they're happy to oblige, and that is, rather, now looking back, was the aforementioned shattering of the best of their intentions concerning photogenic retirement. Mark and Anna, the two of them individually, but all the more so together, like to model. They really do. Modeling for the sake of modeling, for the love of the game. And the two of them standing there, rather posing there, arm in arm in the Hayburn State Park Welcome Center at the front, as the front desk woman snapped a few photos on her long, needing to be updated iPhone, convinced them to come out of retirement and do one more photo shoot together. This one photo shoot became a North American tour, and it was extremely well received. And they made more money from this 3-month tour than they had in the entirety of their previous, also very well-paid careers. But then Mark really got into reading the Desert Fathers and read how St. Anthony of Egypt had heard a sermon on Matthew chapter 19, and Christ's instructions to the rich young man to keep the commandments, sell what you have and give to the poor, and come follow me. And so while they did not sell all they had, they did give away a lot, and in a true love your neighbor as yourself for the sake of loving God's Spirit, and then following all this, resolved to do two things. Number one, buy a lake house near the shore of the Great Palouse Sea, and number two, contact Father LeBron. And so they did, and they did. Father LeBron, it's me, Mark. I know it's been a while. We've been long gone from your thoughts, your view. Stark can be the life unguided by a spiritual advisor. See, although confess I must, happy as a lark Anna and me have found and do find ourselves to be. But, Father LeBron, I think this time blind I am not in the ways of self-deception or the lack of self-knowledge. We're done modeling. Most kind to us you would be, your counsel, like from the desert sky manna, if you'd consent us to shepherd your boy Mark and that girl, my wife Anna. Father LeBron called them back and left an old school, please leave your message after the tone voicemail that was breathlessly without punctuation and explained verbatim, guys, yes, of course I've been thinking about you a lot actually. What a great wedding that was. So happy for both of you. Of course, spiritual advisors, I'd be so honored because God has a plan for your life. And the line went dead. There is only so much storage space to leave a message of a particular length, and he had exceeded that limit. To make a long story short, yes, Father LeBron reiterated, in a this time real-time conversation over the phone, come back to that first date restaurant out on the old Moscow-Pullman highway, and we'll get right to work. And so they did. And this time it was not raining, but the sky was a deep red and purple as the sun was setting behind lentil hills over a dusty road, and it was very aesthetically satisfying. And the reunion with Father LeBron, from the bear hugs to the shaking of shoulders back into a hug, was very nice. Father LeBron even pinched Mark's cheek and smacked him softly across the nose in the Irish hospitality style. Before we really get into it, Father LeBron says, here, read this aloud, handing Mark a folded up paper which Mark unfurls quickly. Just to see what I've been up to, he explains. It's faster this way, and then we can get to what matters. In purple ink, it reads, there was an ancient city they called Rome, a colony of refugees from the ashes of Western civilization's collapse. A city of God, I hope yet still, but far away from Tiber's mouth. Extremely rich and lazy and entitled they, Americans, had become. When it came to waging war, most fierce, sadly. And so I have for many years now set my sights, my aim, my goal on reconstructing this land they themselves claim as heaven's favorite. A hole in the sky of Cowboy Stadium so God can watch his favorite team play. God shed his grace on thee. America the beautiful, are you still so? I have so often wondered. Rebuild my church, he told the wolf whisperer many ages ago. The least I can do is try with all my might to do my part, to have God find favor with us and send his blessing upon us. Even if it has been us unawares, long years cast across all waters, providentially, not fate-driven, this land, this people wandering from sea to seas of darkness. It was hard to found Rome. The founding of a Catholic America might prove harder still. I say the Mass, I fast, I pray the Rosary, I pray the Divine Office. I pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet not just at 3 p.m., but all 60 minutes at the 3 o'clock hour. I pray the Angelus 3 times a day, 6, 12, and 6. And to repair my long-strained nerves, I deadlift and I dunk. The desert monks of old used to weave baskets and then return to prayer. I dunk and then I deadlift and I return myself to prayer, to this spiritual work. It is hard. This potential city of God, new stars and stripes Rome, I do and have confessed, and I ask myself, but how should I dare? And by whose permission? I am not Aeneas, hardly St. Paul, me. Who would believe me worthy of even the glimpse, forget the execution of this grand vision? But last week I pulled 605 5 times, and I dunked two-handed in traffic 3 times last pickup game with the boys. I touched 11'1" in training, 41-inch vertical confirmed, despite being 59 years old. 100%, I assure you, God's grace is sufficient unto thee. 605 5 times, Mark says. So what's your max? I've loaded 700 on the bar before, Father LeBron says, but no chance, barely budged. But that's my goal. I think when I pull 700, it will be a sign America is about to become a Catholic nation. My max, though, 640, I think. What's a vertical? Anna asks. How high you can jump off the ground, straight up, Mark says. Is 41 inches good? She asks. Before Mark can answer, for he had admitted an instantaneous snort and head shake, as in, good, it's great. It's basically hearing some guy's net worth is somewhere in the billions, and you ask if that's a lot of money. Father LeBron is off and up, no warm-up, in the act of demonstration, and it's just obvious that, wow, this priest has crazy bounce. IPA microbrewery level hops, wow. Father LeBron lands and then says with a tone of finality, now, my friends, after all this, let's get down to business. Let's talk about why you came here. Let's do the spiritual advising, yes? By my own unworthy hands, but really by the grace of God, through the vehicle of St. Augustine of Hippo. By the way, do you know what his vertical and deadlift max were? Mark and Anna say nothing. Father LeBron just looks at them. No, Mark says, what were they? Oh, I have no idea, Father LeBron says. I was sincerely asking, do you know what his vertical and deadlifts were? I don't know, but I would like to know. Anyways, again, down to business, guys. I encourage you, the two of you, to take notes on the following. Because henceforth, and to the end of this session, there will be no more distractions, diversions, nothing. Nothing but spiritual helps and signposts. So, are you ready? Mark and Anna nod. Anna has her notepad out, yellow-paged, blue-lined lawyer pad with a black Bic pen already uncapped. Father LeBron begins. Lesson 1 is our last and first meeting, which culminated in your wedding. I'm going to call lesson 0. Will be demarcated by alphabetically ordered section breaks. And so here we set off with A. A. One day, my friends, at the conclusion of our spiritual advising sessions, you will write a book called The Adventures of Mark and Anna, Models. Owing to your already well-established public profile, this book will do extraordinarily well and make many fall in love with St. Augustine, therefore Christ, and his church, and we will all be very, very grateful to you. The chapters of this book will be our lessons. 1, the city of God versus the city of man. 2, the problem of evil. 3, attractions and attachments. 4, chastity. 5, Donatism and Proto-Protestantism. 6, on time and the eternal now. In each of these, you will recount to the public the lessons that I imparted to you, having had them imparted to me by this great saint, he having imparted to him by the light of God, the sole true source of wisdom in all the universe. It will help a lot of people, your book, and so I thank you both in advance for writing it. B, tonight's session is that future chapter 2, the problem of evil. First, definitions, 5 of them. Are you taking notes? You guys ready? B1, evil does not have a positive nature. B2, evil is lack, privation, deprivation, the absence of a good that should be there but is not. B3, evil therefore is not something in and of itself but something missing. B4, evil defect can only be talked about in reference to the good. God, all good, made all things good. There is only a first foundational source of good, God, and all God made again is good. The great good made all goods, plural. There is no original great bad making small bads. For back to B1 through B3, evil does not have a positive nature or source. It is only the corruption, the rot, the lack of the original good. Reinforcing this, B5, good can exist without evil, but not the other way around. Without sin, which is the source of evil, our own corrupted will's willing defect, all things would be wholly good, as they should have been, as was their intended natural state. All things good, all things integrally operating as they were meant to. But evil can only come into existence off of the good, in response to the good, in corruption of the good. The worst evil, the most bad, hell, is this to the maximum. Full evil because of complete corruption of good, a complete lacking of the good, and so it results as utter and perpetual darkness. Okay, but so C. C is the definition of evil straight from the horse's mouth. How does St. Augustine himself define evil in his magisterial City of God? I've read this book cover to cover 58 times and had it memorized after the 27th read. So I'll provide the definition in page citations. P.S. Father LeBron says, pulling out the book and throwing it to Mark, who catches it against his chest. It's yours, my personal annotated copy. As you can see, the slightly abridged introduction by Etienne Gilson, 1958 image/Doubleday edition, 551 pages onto the index. Absolutely ridiculously pretty seafoam green cover with that nice, very yellow sun. That's what I'll be citing from. Page 217, book 9, book 11, chapter 9. St. Augustine, quote, "Evil has no positive nature. What we call evil is merely the lack of something that is good." And one more definition for good measure here from book 14, chapter 11, page 305, St. Augustine, quote, "Evil cannot exist without good, since the natures to which the defects belong, inasmuch as they are natures, are good." Please note as I progress to state examples, and I'm going to do that, I'm going to give you 10 examples pretty soon. The overarching umbrella here is about that definition of the city of God versus the city of man that St. Augustine provides right there on page 321 at the end of book 14, chapter 28. The city of God is about the love of God even to the contempt of self, where the fallen city of man is about the love of self even unto the contempt of God. And do you remember what Mother Angelica of Irondale was wont to say? The only true tragedy in life is sin. The only real evil, the only real misfortune is sin. For D and E, I'm going to give you examples. D, first, the general one that one can say are small-scale evils, lesser lacks, if you will, while under the E heading, the more serious evils. I'll conclude with a section F on, so what does it all mean then? Why is there evil? Why does God permit evil? D, general acts. 1, inability to learn music and or learn stuff, period. 2, physical, as in sports or sporting fails. 3, the small cough, common cold, breakdown of the body. 4, lacks in etiquette and interpersonal behavior. And 5, on beauty. These 5, Father LeBron explains, are small level, small scale lacks or small level evils. So D1, he says, look at how much small evil, lesser lacks people suffer in terms of learning. God intended that we know things. Augustine himself writes that we love to know and we know we love to know things. And prior to the fall, it should have been so. Learning should have been effortless. Music, languages, calculus, whatever. And for some people, praise God, it is. These people are closer to the integral whole of how it should have been, to the good of learning as we are made to experience it. When you see how some people can't even learn a single phrase in a language they've been studying for years, or claim to be able to play the violin, but then you hear them, and whatever that was, it wasn't the violin. Or when you look around and see the vast seas of ignorance lapping up about us, as it says in the 22nd chapter of the book of Sirach, quote, "Teaching a fool is like gluing a broken pot, or rousing another from deep sleep. Whoever talks to a fool talks to someone who is asleep. When it is over, he says, what was that?" When you see all of this ignorance lapping up around us, then you will see the reality of the missing ingredients of what should be there in terms of learning, but is not, is missing, is this lack that signifies evil, even in the smallest of definitions. D2, physical, as in sports or sporting fails. Sports are a great explainer of the problem of evil. Sports show, with no room for doubt, how much people lack in abilities that could be there, but are not. It is certainly a lack, an evil, no matter how insignificant it may be in the grand scheme of things, to not be able to bench press the bar, have a single-digit vertical jump, not to be able to run a mile under 10 minutes, not to be able to execute even one proper pull-up, and so on. Watch sports and you will see much evil, much missing that should be there, much missing from the ideal and good wholeness of the matter. D3, small cough, common cold, breakdown of the body, and D4. And at this point, Father LeBron is really on a roll. D4, lacks in etiquette. Interpersonal behavior are much the same. Yes, and thank God. We still hear in the section D of lesser evils, that cold that kept you bedridden for 2 nights and now you've recovered from it. Right, yes, it was not ultimately a big deal, but it was an evil nonetheless, a lack of health, however small and temporary. You should have been out walking the dog, eating mint chocolate chip outside on cobblestone streets while people watched and laughed and waited for the sun to set so as to take in the stars. But you were even momentarily suffering a lack, a deprivation of the physical health that would enable you to be as you were or meant to be. And what to say, D4, of people who burp at the dinner table, who tell explicit jokes to grandmothers, who hug people they just met 5 minutes ago, who here, being kids, think they can call their friends' parents by their first name, or worse still, parents who tell their kids' friends to call them by their first name. Certainly we can say they are engaging in evil, however small of an evil it is, but yes, still a deprivation. a lack of etiquette and interpersonal behavioral understandings. Father LeBron pauses to take a drink of water. He gulps it down with frightful rapidity. He scrunches the bottle into his hands till it's crushed, and he throws it carelessly behind him. He then falls back in his chair and emits a loud, ah, nothing like 2 parts hydrogen and 1 part oxygen to wet the whistle. See, he then says, following a brief pause, that was evil. The whole thing I just did there. The aggressive public water gulping, the frat boy-inspired littering and disposal of the bottle, the calling water 2 parts hydrogen. Well, you see, yeah, huge lacks in D4 etiquette and interpersonal behavior. He clears his throat. Anna and Mark smile. Father LeBron, they're both thinking, well, he demonstrated that in real time really well. That was cool. And Anna, she has not stopped taking the most elegant, calligraphous, and thorough notes. Mark has been looking at and thinking about Anna the whole time. He's probably heard anywhere from 17 to 31% of what Father LeBron has said so far. D5 on beauty, Father LeBron says. The two of you are about as close to no evil at all when it comes to beauty. I don't mean to embarrass you, either of you, but facts are facts. The two of you being just about as good looking as two people can be, that was supposed to be the norm. Absent in the fall, a perfect physical beauty as you have it would spring forth from a more important and higher spiritual beauty. You don't think Adam and Eve were physically perfect as much as spiritually so before the apple, before the banishment following their disobedience? It's supposed to go hand in hand. Beauty of the body and beauty of the soul, and yet look around, look and see so much of the defects and lacks and deprivations of beauty all around us, especially in the soul, and that's worst of all. But so, having talked about the D-level lower evils, let's discuss 5 more serious evils. 1, lack of familial love. 2, lack of charity towards the poor. 3, as in D3, physical ailments, but here serious ones. 4, crimes, large and small, and 5, wars. E1, lack of familial love. What more can one say, for example, about the serious evil of doing so much humanitarian work and so much public good besides, while your own flesh and blood, your brother, sleeps under a bridge in a bad part of town? Charity starts at home. And what does it matter how nice and kind you are to strangers when you not simply don't speak to your sister, but wish her all kind of bad things, even taking perverse pleasure from her struggles and sufferings? This is evil. And E2, what does it matter anything good you might be doing if you not only despise the poor and look down on them, but ignore them altogether? For I was hungry, and you gave me not to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me not to drink. The small cough and short illness lacks. The evil of what we discussed above in D3 is all the more acutely felt in E3 serious ailments, lifelong chronic conditions, terminal illnesses, even just the, with advancing old age, inabilities to complete the menial items once so easily done. Christ himself told St. Peter, "But when thou shalt be old, thou shalt stretch forth thy hands, and another gird thee, and lead thee whither thou wouldest not." Anyone experiencing a serious illness can tell you much from first-hand experience about the nature of evil, about things lacking, deprivations, a missing health most noticed the moment it has departed. And rest assured, Father LeBron says, now drinking a beer, the golden color of it properly resplendent. Rest assured that D4 and D5, crimes large and small, but especially the former, the sordid and sensational, the, oh, now that is evil type crimes, and the wars that plague the globe like a plague of locusts, rest assured they too in their evilness spring from the same deprivation and lack. A lack of love of neighbor, obviously, but a lack from that first part of the 2 greatest commandments most especially. For it is above all hatred for God, the lack of love for God and his divinely willed order that leads men into the deprived darkness of crime and war. So, Father LeBron pauses. To Mark, did you get all that? All that? What? Mark says. That, Father LeBron says, you weren't paying attention, right? You were just thinking about Anna the whole time, right? Yeah, Mark admits. Father LeBron exhales through the nose and then bites his lip. You were just zoning out, thinking about Anna the whole time, instead of listening to what I'm trying to teach you. Yeah, Mark says, yeah. It's about to get testy between these 2 men until Anna to the rescue. She shows Father LeBron her notebook. She's taken 4 pages of notes. She's written down everything he has said, Hasn't missed the point, even circled and underlined a few items. Father LeBron smiles. He's happy. Then he says, okay, guys, my friends, look, this brings us to F. Why is there evil? Why does God allow evil? What is the point anyways? First, I think we have to understand and rejoice in the fact that we are not God. And whereas he is not bound by time and space, but the possessor of an eternal, unchanging vision, we are. And so we don't know how it all fits together, and maybe even some things we think are bad are not in fact bad. We just don't see how it all fits together. And all we can do as men and women of faith is trust God. Live that divine mercy image motto, Jesus, I trust in you, and the fruit of that first sorrowful mystery, the agony in the garden, resignation to God's will. God has a plan for you personally and the plan in general too. The victory has already been won, but we have to do our part and say yes to him and trust in him. And remember Romans 8:28. We know that all things work together for good for those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. But if you want even a little more than that, in conclusion, Father LeBron says, I'd say that God ultimately allows evil only to bring about a greater good. In the book of Genesis, Joseph, he never becomes Egyptian grain czar and prime minister without first being thrown in a cistern by his moron brothers. Their evil brought about a greater good, and Joseph even says this, it's right there in Genesis, that the evil you wish to do to me has been turned by God into good. God ultimately allows evil only to bring about a greater good. And it's tied up in our free will. We have free will. Listen to what St Augustine says about that. God is the cause of all causes, although not all choices. City of God, Book 5, Chapter 8, page 103. And man's will is all important. If it is badly directed, the emotions will be perverse. If it is rightly directed, the emotions will not merely be blameless, but praiseworthy. City of God, Book 14, Chapter 6, page 303. And so, because we have free will, we can say no, and we did. Adam and Eve did. That's the origin of evil, the original deprivation, choosing not God, choosing a defective destiny apart from God. But from that evil, what comes? A greater good. The incarnation, the Word made flesh and dwelling among us, the God-man, perfectly innocent, suffering the apparent greatest evil in human history, deicide, God crucified, killed by a sinful and rebellious creation, but all this only to bring about the greatest good, Easter Sunday, eternal glory. For amen again, dying you restored our death, rising you restored our life. St. Augustine said, Felix culpa, and he was right. He was absolutely right. The first session was over. Yeah, that was it. That was all. Anna and Mark thanked the good priest profusely. Maybe they even overdid it. No worries. The three friends talked long into the night. They had a sumptuous dinner and then 3 rounds of dessert, and Mark and Father LeBron drank beers, and Anna brought out a really nice bottle of wine. No one knows where she got it from, but it was very, very dark outside, here somewhere on the old Moscow-Pullman highway. It was late, and then Father LeBron challenged Mark to a game of basketball, one-on-one. And Mark was incredibly impressed seeing Father LeBron's 41-inch vertical slowly being revved up as they warmed up. And it seemed like he, Father LeBron, could dunk on command in any which way. And man, what athleticism. Mark won the game 21-0. 2 and 3s, make it take it. 21-0 because while Father LeBron had that insane bounce and was super strong, his world-class deadlift giving him a sturdy foundation to paint, he almost literally could not dribble. Like it looked like he didn't know what dribbling a basketball meant. Like he had never done it before. And the 6 shots that he got off, remember, make it take it. Mark had been a reserve guard in high school whose specialty was three-point shooting. The 6 shots Father LeBron got off were all air balls. One missing the hoop by at least 20 feet wide right. And Mark, as it was happening, was actually really embarrassed by that, embarrassed for Father LeBron, by how bad the priest was actually at playing the game. I mean, he just legit sucked at basketball. Anna and Mark thanked Father LeBron a final time. They left. The not luckless Anna, poor luckless Dido, had drawn out the night with varied talk. She now drank long love and asked her Aeneas many questions about his dad, about this other dude who was a certified Chad, how a woman's son was armed. I mean, this guy, Mark's cousin, he was like too jacked, right? Please stop doing bicep curls, my friend. And now, how exactly strong were the guys Mark lifted with? I mean, they don't skip leg day, correct? But how tremendous was her Achilles, he, Mark. And at that, Mark smiled through deep self-satisfaction at such lofty comparison, so carelessly put out into the air, the open, the cold, long, cold, freezing nighttime air. My love, Anna calls. Tell me all things from the first beginning. What is swagger? What did your family think of you becoming a model? And then your journeyings right up to the very moment you laid eyes on her. I mean me. For now, the 7th summer carries us, poor pilgrims in this valley of tears, across the old Moscow Pullman Highway and waters. Thank you.